Okay, it's me. Let's see. Is there audio? Is there video? Checking, checking, checking. All right. Let's see. Yes. Come on. Yes, it's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Oh, wow. So I didn't schedule this when I just went live. I'm going to read a couple of comments. All right. So, Philly Fingers said, oh wait, hang on. No, you know what? I'll do this from the other screen, and that way I'll be able to see if anyone. Okay. Philly Fingers on the comment on the dialogue I had with Yira Ha'ari. He said, "Help me understand this. I'm not adding up in the accounting office here for me. That's an obvious discrepancy or issue with what's being claimed or said or represented," he says. Okay, help me out here, and forgive me if I'm wrong or missing something here. Yira said that a 10-pointed star is Malchut. Those pointed stars are your Merkava, etc., so forth. I'm reading this right now along with you guys. Which is your spirit vehicle? Right, Merkava is chariot, so he calls it your spirit vehicle. More points slash dimensions is more movement slash direction slash ability. Malchut is referred to and said to be the lowest in Judaism and Kabbalah. Well, it turned into the lowest. It was not the lowest to begin with, but that's a different story. That's not true. That's the highest, not the lowest. Well, there is this inversion, right, of top to bottom, bottom to top of the 10 sfirot, right, where one world's malchut, let's say, is another world's keter. Okay, there's also, right, going from top to bottom and from bottom to top. And if you're going from bottom to top, malchut is indeed first. But okay, we are more powerful, says Philly Fingers. They don't want us knowing our power. That's an outright false teaching there. Please correct me if I am wrong or missing something there. Hey, unknown user, have a blessed day. And you, unknown user, have a very blessed day. Professor Productivity had a message retracted. And why, Professor? Please, I want to hear what you have to say. Now, okay, now I don't know much about the Kabbalah as it pertains to the Merkava, right? But I know, at least according to the teachings of the Ramak, right, of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, when now I didn't revisit, I did not revisit this dialogue with Yira Ha'ari. It happened 2 or 3 months ago, and I did not revisit it since, so I don't quite know what Philly Fingers is referencing. But as for saying Malchut is the lowest, and him saying no, Malchut is the highest, there is a time when it is the lowest and a time when it is the highest, and there is a time before, let's say, it came down to being the 10th Sphira, when it was above Netzach and Hod, right? Above 8 and above 6 and 7. Let's see. I love AH. I don't know what AH is good or bad. I'm not sure what AH is. Hey, bro, says Willem Berry. How you doing, William? It's good to see you. It's very good to see you. Hang on a second. I'm taking my tea bag out of my tea mug. Hold on. Okay. Hey, Real Jack Matt is here. It's been a long time since I went 2 days in a row. I'm very happy that I can do this. You know what? No, let's just keep it at that. Let's keep going with... wait. Professor Productivity. What is AH? Please tell me. I'd like to know. Okay. Let's continue with a few of the comments from yesterday. Okay, so Rick says, I'm learning German, and apparently he's been learning German. He took German in high school, and he says it was 10 years ago, been on and off ever since, and finally stuck with it long enough to make noticeable progress. Now, for a person to learn a new language is an amazing thing. Language is something which can literally change the way that you think. Language is something that can actually form, I mean, learning any skill, right? or to play an instrument or whatnot can form new pathways in your brain, right? And new synapses firing and all that. But language specifically opens up certain doors from what I've heard that have profound psychological ramifications because you are literally learning how to think in a different way. And that's amazing. He is a mean person. What? Who is a mean person? Who are you talking about, unknown user? Hey, user 555 is here. How you doing? Hello to you. So it's a... Oh, hey, Robert is here. Hello, Nazarite. I love you. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. Hey, Chocomillo is back in town. I had fun with your questions last night, man. How do you feel Trump sacrificing and shifting the blame to the Israel on the attack of the gas production on Qatar/Iran? Did you realize Americans are playing your country to fuel their own objectives? Of course, look, America has its own interests at heart, first and foremost, because that is America. America first, right? Obviously, I wouldn't think it would be any other way. As for shifting the blame, politicians, presidents, certainly someone like Trump, who is shifty from what I've heard, right, and who has very, I don't know how to phrase it precisely right now, but he's very erratic, shall we say. So, how do I feel about it? I wouldn't expect anything less, right? This is a game, right? It's a game. Politics is a game. War is not a game. Politics is a game. I am not a politician. I am not a businessman. I do not know the art of the deal. But I do know that Donald Trump is I mean, right now he's the leader of the free world, as they say, and if he is shifting the blame and doing it in order to fuel their own objective, I would expect nothing less. And this is not to place blame on Donald Trump. He's just doing his thing. He is doing what he feels is best for the United States of America. So what am I going to say about that? I'm good, brother. What about you, says user? I'm doing pretty well, considering the fact that we're in the middle of a war. I'm here, and it's, 9 p.m., and I have a cup of tea, and I'm here with you good people, and it's all very, very good, and I'm happy to be doing this. SFH said hi, hey, and Mando said hey. Mando, I think I've seen you before. Continuing with comments from the last few days. Hang on a second. So Zach said, "Why is Iran burning Baal statues?" Now, I wasn't aware that people in Iran were burning statues of Baal, and he said it's clearly directed at Israel. I mean, I don't understand how burning statues of a foreign deity that's also foreign to the Hebrew people, albeit they did worship it at times, but it's prohibited and forbidden according to Torah. Why would burning statues of Baal be directed against Israel? I don't see the connection there. Now, Zach also mentions in his comment here the order of Melchizedek, and people, a person I'm in touch with in the DMs on Instagram also recently brought up the order of Melchizedek, and I had to tell them both that it is not a Hebrew tradition, although Melchizedek does make an appearance in the book of Genesis and is mentioned in the book of the Psalms. There is no order of Melchizedek as a priesthood, as a priestly order. Now, what I told someone who said, "Oh, it breaks my heart to hear that according to the Jews and the Torah, there is no priestly order of Melchizedek," people attribute great significance to the character of Melchizedek and this priestly order which predates the Levitical priests and whatnot. So what I told this person is, just because in the Hebrew tradition there is no such order of Melchizedek, it doesn't take anything away from Melchizedek as an individual. Right? He is the first one mentioned as a priest. He is the first one mentioned in relation to the name of God El Elyon. And so there is significance to Melchizedek. And in the Psalms, he is also mentioned as somebody who is worthy of being, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, somebody, right, the poet in the Psalms is talking about the king or about, it's a prophet. At any rate, he says that he is like Melchizedek, al divrati Melchizedek. And so even if there is no order of Melchizedek in the Hebrew faith, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. B, it doesn't mean that Melchizedek, the individual, right, the biblical figure, is not something that is worthy of well, of admiration to some degree, right, and to some extent, and emulation, right? Now, he said, hold on a second. He says that is correct. There is no order in Israel or Yahweh, but it's an older group and the source of the original covenant, right? So this source of the original covenant, I see it not as Melchizedek, I see it as going back to Eden. So we may differ on the time frame, but Zach and I, are of the same opinion that there was a kind of human covenant that predated the covenant of Israel, the covenant of the Hebrews, right? Originating in Abraham, later Isaac, later Jacob, turning into Israel, then the 12 tribes. There are covenants that predate covenants. Now, he says it's going back to Melchizedek, and I say, okay, Melchizedek may have been the bearer, right, and the carrier of the torch of that original covenant, but for me it goes back to Eden. That's the way it is. But I do understand people who attribute this older covenant that predates Israel and the Hebrew way to Melchizedek. I do. I understand why that would be. Are you a Messianic Jew? No, I am not a Messianic Jew. I don't follow Jesus. I think he is a dead man, no more, no less. E-Dog is here as well. Hey, E-Dog. Did Jesus and Luke the physician swim in the rivers in ancient Israel? I have no idea. Did ancient Israelites like to swim in the waters on the coast? I believe that they did, because why not? I know that I would. Or was it too dangerous? Well, if it was too dangerous, maybe I wouldn't, but if it's not dangerous, I guess I would. Why not? Are you familiar with Samaritans? I'm familiar with the idea as it appears in the book of, is it Kings or Ezekiel? Hail Satan, says Satan. Indeed, hail. User says, yes, the war in Middle East and the Ukraine have stopped. Has it indeed stopped? Really, I got no such news, but maybe I'm wrong. Lil Bod says, huh? Indeed, huh? Dev Coffee is here. Hello, friend. Good to see you. And it's good to see you, and it's good to be seen. No, I don't think the war actually stopped. Stephen asks, do you think there could ever be peace? Yes, I do think there could be peace. I stupidly, naively, optimistically, foolishly think there will be peace. I don't know how we will get there, but I believe that we will definitely have peace. Chocomillo says Trump is fueling more anti-Semitism by shifting the blame on Jewish conspiracy theory. He says everything bad that American does is Israel, while American has clean hand when in reality America ordered it. Well, let's say that Trump is playing this game. From what I've gathered, people in the U.S., even supporters of Trump, are not backing him when it comes to this war against Iran. Because Iran does not pose an immediate threat to the United States, they really, truly do not follow and do not endorse Trump's move. People are blaming Israel regardless of Trump, saying that it was Israel who put pressure on the U.S. to join this war and to do it and to do it as a joint operation. But I have no idea. As for everything bad Americans do blames Israel, while Americans have clean hands. I mean, people who believe Trump will believe him no matter what, and people who don't believe him no matter what. I don't know if there are people who are swayed this way or that by what President Trump is saying. I have no idea. What's up, man? Says Rock with AJ. What's up, indeed? Alec on YouTube is here. Shalom, shalom to you. Peace be with you all. Do you believe Jesus was a prophet? SFH asks. I believe he was a potential prophet. I don't know what he prophesied. So I have no idea. I believe he could have been, much like all of us. We could all, and we maybe should all be prophets. Is your ding-ding a treetop or a palm tree? E-Dog says. My ding-ding? I don't know what my ding-ding is, nor do I know if it's a treetop or a palm tree. So I don't know. Why did you just hail Satan? Oh, I was just agreeing with the person who hailed Satan, so I hailed him as well. Because, the reason why I would hail Satan is because he's just doing his job. He's just a servant of the Most High God. He's doing his job, and I'm trying to do mine. He is the adversarial element, and it is my job to overcome adversity. And so we both are doing our jobs the best we can. Sometimes Satan does a much better job than I do. Hopefully not through more bloodshed. Agreed, peace through love, acceptance, and understanding would be better than more bloodshed. Dev says, it is a beautiful day in southeast Texas. Sunny, nice breeze. I'm at work walking some dogs. Good for you. That's really great, Dev Coffee. That's wonderful. What types of dogs and how many dogs are you walking right now? That's a lie, says Craven Sam. Trump never said that. Propaganda. Or Trump never said that propaganda. By like I say, by the time it reaches my eyes, my ears, it's all propaganda already. ZP says I'm in the US. I voted for Trump. I do not endorse all of his decisions. I do not support the war with Iran. We don't want this. Yes, I am not surprised that Americans don't want this. It makes perfect sense to me that Americans would not want to be in cahoots with Israel about this. Shalom and thanks for the content. Please stay safe and be well. Thank you. I appreciate that, ZP. I hope you're okay too. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. James Bong is in the house. Shalom from Baruch Hashem from West Kentucky. Lilbon says there is no light without shadow. Yep. Miley Cyrus, huh? Evil is but a shadow that always accompanies the good. Craven Sam, trying to figure out what is your stance. On the fence, forgive, no disrespect. What is your job? I am a writer. That's what I do. I'm a copywriter. And my stance on what? I go on a case-by-case basis. If you give me a set of circumstances, a scenario, a story, tell me the story and I'll tell you what I think of it. But usually I don't have any pre-packaged ideas. So you hate white people from the West? Rock with AJ asks. Have I given any indication that I hate white people or the West? If I did, then that's absurd. And no, I try not to hate. I'm more of I'm a lover, not a hater. Mine is a treetop, says E-Dog, indeed. ZP says, beautifully put about... I still don't know what you mean, E-Dog. You need to clarify. I'm ignorant. Explain it like I'm 5. Beautifully put about the adversary. Yeah, that's the way I think of it. Island Vibe says, are you an Orthodox Jew? I grew up Orthodox here in Jerusalem. I have since taken a step back from strict rabbinic law, but Orthodoxy is still my home. Orthodoxy is still where I come from. And I don't rule out going back to keeping strict rabbinic law in the future, but because I don't have a rabbi and because I don't follow halacha blindly, right, rabbinic law, I don't consider myself religious or Orthodox in the classic sense. But yes. Mehran, says Jeremiah. What does Mehran mean? I don't know. Rock says, once the Jews take over, there will be peace. I don't know. Take over what? Once the Jews take over what? I mean, there are some people who are saying, we already took over everything, so I have no idea. Ocean says, back to this. Hey, tell us why you took your oath to refrain from grapes. Well, it's not an oath, it's a vow. An oath and a vow are two different things. An oath is what you do in a court to tell the truth. Is this true? Is this a lie? A vow is to abstain from something or take on something. As for the Nazariteship, I took it on as a physical manifestation of a personal spiritual covenant between myself and Adonai, right, and the Most High God. That's why. Taylor is here. Hey, Taylor. Do you think Muhammad actually did have a revelation from God? I don't know. I haven't read the Quran. I haven't read the Hadith. I don't know anything about Islam. But without knowing anything, I'm inclined to say that people, be they Jews or Gentiles, to the degree that their actions manifest their own unique image of God, then the spirit, right, of prophecy, the Holy Spirit, the sacred spirit rests upon them. So it is really, really, really possible that a person like Muhammad would receive divine revelation. So yes, I mean, I have no idea if he did or didn't. I know that we all, as human beings made in the image of God, have the capacity, the potential, right, of receiving divine revelation. It's all about let's say, maintaining and purifying and cleansing our vessel, and shooting for that, right? Because you're not gonna hit what you don't aim at. Muhammad was a goat rapist, says E-Dog. Yes, I've heard that too, but I don't know that for a fact. Craven Sam says, sorry, I heard you said you are doing your job as Satan does his. So what is your job? Oh, I thought you meant my day job. My job, basically, is to follow the Torah and the commandments as a Hebrew man. That's pretty much it. No more, no less. I get a hunch E-Dog is talking about your bush. I see. Well, how do you know I don't shave it off? What is your stance on Yeshua? I believe he was a Hebrew man who lived and who died. I say this many times. I don't have a problem with him being a potential Messiah or king or prophet, but he's a dead man, and I don't have a problem with him being resurrected and ascending as well. The only thing that I differ with on Christians and followers of Yeshua is that I don't believe he is the Son of God. I don't believe he is part of divinity itself. I believe he was a human being who lived and died a human being. But that is my stance. And I also say it could very well be that I would have followed him as well if I were around at the time. So you eat grapes now? No, I do not eat grapes. I haven't had a grape in about 15 years. No grapes, no wine vinegar, no raisins, and nothing that comes from the fruit of the grapevine. A treetop means your ding-ding is circumcised. Oh, see, you learn something new every day. So that's a treetop. I see what you mean. Okay. A palm tree means it's not. Okay. Dude, you're a copywriter, says ZP. Yes, I am. Okay, may I email you to ask you a bit about your career? Yes, indeed. You may. Or you can hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. And anyone else who wants to hit me up in the DMs. You know, I'm on X, and I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Although TikTok, I don't get notifications. I might need to turn that on. But if you want to email me in my in the YouTube channel, right on the home page of the channel, there's the About, and then you can find my email there. By all means, email me, and I'll be able to hit you back and see what's up. Long live Iran, says SS Go 4WI. Indeed, long live the Iranian people. I hope that they are able to overthrow their religious extremist regime. Shoko Milov says, as a religious man, I believe no God will order other men to take other men's lives, especially when it came from politician mouth. God will smite those that used his name to fuel hatred. That is very interesting, and I'm inclined to somewhat agree, not 100% agree, but yes. Because it's not a question of God, right? I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. The idea is that throughout the generations and with the degradation of the human species, if you will, throughout time, and by degradation I mean that we have sort of turned away more and more and sunk lower and lower, let's say, to some extent. So all of the different commandments, including those to kill. I mean, let's take eating meat, for example. For 10 generations it was not allowed, but after the flood it was allowed. See what I'm saying? Alongside, right, corresponding with the morality of man is the divine revelation that is being brought into existence and the commandments that come from there. And so for the first 10 generations from Adam to Noah, things were vegan, but then meat was allowed. Because, oh, well, you're acting like animals, so you can eat animals. You see what I'm saying? With the moral degradation of humanity came a divine revelation that was closer to that morality, if you will. So, when you say that no God will order another man to take another man's life, I say maybe not originally, but throughout the generations it had come to that there was a divine revelation that told, let's say, in the Torah, that if you murder someone, you will be put to death by a court of law. As for fueling hatred, I do agree with that more. I definitely do agree with that more. Mando says, is there a faithful translation of the Bible you could recommend, or would it be better to learn Hebrew? Obviously, it's better to learn Hebrew, but not everybody can do that. I don't know if there's a faithful translation. I go with the JPS Tanakh version of 1917. I like the poetic, it reminds me of King James. I like the poetic Hebrew, or the poetic translation of the Hebrew. Whether it's faithful or not, I think it's one of the more faithful translations, but I haven't read enough translations to know. I simply go with that one. How many babies have been killed? Many babies have been killed throughout the existence of humankind. I don't understand the question. Catman says, have you seen the video from 1920, 1930 where there was a huge Jewish event with what looks like a statue of Baal? Why would that be if you haven't seen it? Genuinely curious. I haven't seen it, A. B, I don't know if it was a statue of Baal or a different statue. C, what are they doing? They are worshipping, they are taking it down, they are burning it. I really don't know. It's difficult for me without seeing the video what it is. What I do know is that all of the statues, right, are not allowed. You're not allowed to worship statues and effigies and sigils. These things are not allowed according to the Torah. 6S says, as an American, I love worshiping Israel. Do you? Do you now? I don't know if that's good or bad, but okay. Taylor says, do you see Islam as being from the Jewish God? I don't know because I don't know Islam. If you tell me a bit more about the nature of Islam, I'll be able to tell you where it corresponds and where it goes astray. Ocean said, I asked why you took the vow, not define the word. Well, I explained why I took the vow right after I defined what a vow and what an oath is. So I already told you why. I felt called to take the Nazarite vow for a very long time. At first, I practiced it without taking the vow, and then afterwards, I took it lock, stock, and barrel, and I am a Samson Nazarite for the past 15 years or so. Catman says, I don't think we should disrespect Islam or any real traditional religion. Well, what is real traditional religion, first of all? Second of all, what if it, hypothetically speaking, commands disrespect? Then what? Are you going to go blindly and say, no, I must respect a belief just because it's ancient? I must respect a belief just because many people go with that faith, right, and align themselves with that belief? What is it that actually means this is worthy of respect? Where is the line? Where do you draw the line, Catman? I don't think we should disrespect Islam. Well, I'm not. I know that there are plenty of people who are. Definitely plenty of people who are. Ocean said, does God not want you to eat a grape? Well, I don't want myself to eat a grape because of what the grapes represent. All it says in the Torah is, if a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes wish to become Nazarites, here's how it's done. There's no reason given as to why a man or a woman would take on this vow. That's a personal thing. So I don't know what God wants or doesn't want. I know what the Torah says. And the Torah says, if you're going to take a Nazarite vow, stay away from the grapes. Lil Bod says, I really appreciate how this man takes the time to read and state his opinion on each comment. Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I just pass things by, but I try to address every comment literally, not just in the chat, but comments on different on different videos that come to me, because I understand that I can't get to every single question. Let's continue. Defect. Defect or F. All right. Defect is Dutch and other languages, right? For broken. And defect is also a Hebrew slang for messed up. MLTM, are you Jew? Yes, I am, of the kingdom of Judah. And you? No. Pedophile, warlord, worshippers don't deserve respect, but that's just my opinion, says James Bong to Catman. Yes, see, here's the thing. Do you hate the faith, but not the faithful? Or do you say, no, I hate the faith and anybody who follows it? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, again, where do you draw the line? Where indeed do you draw the line? Love from Poland, says Defect. Indeed. Much love from Israel. E-Dog says, the thing is that God's name is written on the DNA. Yeah, so people say, right? AGCT, Yod He Vav He. Jeremiah says, if Yeshua was who he says he was, would that make him a divine manifestation of the invisible Adonai? Immanuel, Yah is with us, the Lamb without spot, man without sin, bloodshed. Well, I don't know what Yeshua said, so I have no idea. As for being a manifestation, no, there is no, in the Hebrew faith and in the Hebrew tradition, and according to Torah, there is no God incarnate, there is no God in human form. What we have is a human made in the image of God, but that is an image, a reflection, an influence, and a kind of emanation, but not the divine itself. You see the difference? So, Immanuel means El is with us, not Yah is with us. El is a different name. No. Yah is a different name. They both bespeak different divine revelations. So if you're going to do it right. As for bloodshed, yes, there is need for bloodshed for atonement, but that wasn't always the case, and it won't always be the case. If you want to say that, Bong, says Catman, but there is mystery and real metaphysical tradition inside Islam. Indeed. Indeed, I believe that there is, and I know because the Sufis exist, right? The Sufis exist, which is the esoteric, let's say, mystical part of Islam, more into love, right? I've read some of the poetry, and it can be very moving and very true. So I do know that there is something that transcends the, let's say, barbaric parts of it, and that's also true to the Torah, because there are parts of the Torah that are barbaric. There are parts of the Torah that manifest and display the wickedness that human beings are capable of, because this is a world of good and evil. And then it always, for me, goes back to the question of, and now what? What is it that I follow? What is it that I put the focus on? What is the lens through which I choose to view these things? Because everything is subjective, right? HN respects everyone, says Bong. At least until they give me a reason not to, I try to. That much is true. E-Dog says, just like a car or an instrument had a creator or has a written name on it. Yeah, right, it's the chair and the table analogy. If you see a chair, if you see a table, it means there was a carpenter. If you see a creation, it means there was a creator. I've heard that before. I guess there are some holes you can punch in that analogy, but yeah, definitely there is something to that. YABS says amen. Indeed. All right, let's go down to the chat. Down, down, down. Hang on. Let's continue. Going down. Debate me, says Ocean. What? No, I'm not a debater. Why would the Torah tell you to do something blindly without explanation, like no grapes, and you took it as the command from God? If Torah can misguide you here, where else? First of all, the Torah was written by people for people, divinely inspired for sure, but by people for people. Second of all, the idea of no grapes is explained in the more esoteric, let's say, meanings of the Torah. Also, you can see at its face value in the simple nature of the wine, right? Because there are two types of wine, right? There's the wine that makes you drunk and that makes you forget and that makes you a kind of a low life, right? And that turns you into a liar and causes you to wake up in a pool of your own vomit. And there's wine which elates you and elevates you and gives you joy and happiness. A wine which is able, right, where you are able, through that state of being tipsy, if you will, to be freer, to be more open, to be more sociable. So there's a positive and there's a negative, right? Now, the Torah says to the Nazarite, abstain from the positive and the negative of the grape because of what the grape represents. There's a certain divine revelation that the grape represents, and that is what the Nazarite abstains from. So it's not that I don't know, it's that the Torah says the commandments, right? We have the commandments, and then we have interpretations of the commandments on different levels, from the more simple to the more esoteric. It's a spectrum of understanding. As for being misguided, yes, you can definitely be misguided. You could definitely be misguided by the Torah. The question is, again, what lens do you look at the Torah with? Or with what lens are you looking through into the Torah? If you want to see the bad things, you'll see the bad things. If you want to see good things, you see good things. If you are there to be misguided and you don't have a proper master, you might very well be misguided. Do you see what I'm saying? So what you're saying is not wrong. I'm just saying this is not what I've seen in my dealings with the Torah. Jeremiah says, Torah states in Genesis and Exodus that Adonai wrestled with Jacob. No, it says Vaye'avek ish imo. It doesn't say Adonai wrestled with him. It said a man wrestled with him. A divine revelation of some kind known as man. But no, it doesn't say that God wrestled with him. It said Ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim. And that is still the word Elohim, which is the plural. So I understand what you're saying, and there is that idea of wrestling with God, and that's what Yisrael means. That's one interpretation of the name Yisrael, and that's why Jacob was later renamed Yisrael. Right? Ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim v'tuchal. Encountered Moses as well. How could that be if he can't manifest as a man? Because, first of all, I didn't say he can't. I said that there is no tradition of a God incarnate in the Hebrew faith. Right? God has no revelation in human form. There is a revelation, okay, as an image of God, but not of God in actuality. We have the Creator, unknowable, unthinkable, untouchable, and unfathomable. I keep mixing those up, or confusing them, mishmashing them. And then we have this idea of the divine revelation coming into being through all of creation. So the servants, the messengers that encountered Moses, the servants, the messengers, the revelations that were in the encounter with Jacob, or with Joshua, or with Bilam for that matter, those were not God. Those were revelations of God, messengers of God, right? Servants of God, but not God itself, him, herself. That's the big difference, because we can never, and this is also told to Moses. Moses, right, he asks to see the glory of God, right? Give me all you got. And God tells him, you can only see the revelation of my back, you cannot see my front and live. No man shall see me and live. Lo yira'ani ha'adam v'chai. Christians are God's chosen people, says Justin. Yes, you're definitely going to think that. I'm inclined to believe that humanity is God's chosen people, not a specific sect, not a specific nation, not a specific group, not a specific religion. Jeremiah says, interested to hear your opinion. May Yah bless you all, love. And to you. And to you. Ocean says, paralyzed by analysis. I don't know what paralyzed by analysis means or what you're pertaining to. Justin says, when the Jews denounced Jesus, they lost God's grace. Yes, I've heard that said many times. The thing is this, in the Torah, way before Jesus, it's said that the covenant persists and exists, and even if we turn away from the covenant is still there. And even if we break away, right, and we transgress, the covenant is still there, awaiting us to return to it, to return to who we are meant to be, to return to Torah, to return to commandments, to return to the land, and bring about, right, that covenant in fullness. So even though we turn away from God, even though we transgress, even though we go on a path that is not our own, and worship foreign gods, and worship our God in foreign ways, and do all these terrible things, the covenant still exists, and it's something which persists throughout existence, right, and throughout reality. So, as for losing God's grace, perhaps for a time, but only temporarily, and even then, it's only God's grace that we lose, right? But there are many other facets and revelations to the Most High which continuously are with the Hebrew people, even when they are impure physically and ritually, even when they are not on their land, even when they transgress and turn away and act like complete a-holes. That's the way that it is, because, a covenant is not something that is easily broken. And even if we break it and turn away, it still exists, awaiting us to come back to it. Eliyahu Levi, we are currently working with the Bnei Anusim in Brazil and in Mexico. Hey, good for you. So Bnei Anusim are those who were forced to convert under different circumstances, but who secretly kept their Jewish faith and their Jewish tradition. So they may have raised generations as Christians, but they have a lineage of Jewry. They have a lineage of being Jewish. Yes, HN, Catman says, the esoteric transcendent dimension is what I'm thinking of and what I'm interested in. That's what I mean by respecting other traditions. Don't get lost in the exoteric. Well, look, the esoteric is great. The question is, now what? What is it that is being manifested in reality? Because I'm all about bringing it down into the nasty, stanky funk of the real world. It's all nice to leave things up in the ether of the intellect for a time, but eventually things need to come into being here, in this world. So what is it that Islam is indeed bringing? Because the Sufis, right, and the esoteric arts of Islam, they have their place for sure. What is it that Islam is bringing to the table de facto, in reality? And I'm asking, I have no preconceived notion of this, right? I've often said it, that the reason why I say I don't know anything about Islam is because I think that my mind has been warped and perverted by decades of war and bloodshed and terrorism. So I don't know the first thing about Islam. I know a thing or two about Muslim terrorism, but that's not necessarily Islam, though some people would say that I am ignorant in that it definitely is one and the same. There is no radical Islam, there's Islam. There is no Islamism, there's just Islam. That is what it is. They are one and the same. But I don't know that, I have not done the research. So, when you're talking about the esoteric, I will say, okay, very well and good. When does the rubber meet the road? When does the esoteric come down into this world, into this creation, right? Here, now, in reality. Because keeping it upstairs here in the ether of the intellect, that's easy. But bringing it down into creation, that is tough. Jeremiah says, one day would love for you in meekness to read the book of Matthew. It It's for the sheep of Israel. So I read the New Testament once in my life. I enjoyed the gospel very much. The rest of it I did not enjoy at all. I saw with every passing page, with every passing letter to the, whoever it was, be it the Hebrews or the Ephesians or the Corinthians, how those who wrote those letters, I don't think it was only Paul, others as well, whoever wrote the letters, was veering away from Torah, doing it all in the name of Jesus. So I didn't really connect with that. I did indeed enjoy the gospel, and I would love to read it again someday. Whoops, the chat just jumped. I'm sorry. Where was I? Where was I? Here. Taylor says, what is your interpretation of the tree of life in Eden and the Tower of Babel? Was the tree of life literal or was it metaphorical? So Eden itself, in and of itself, is a physical place, a metaphysical place, and a spiritual place. All of these exist simultaneously, side by side, right, or stacked, however you want to see it. All of these things exist as one, right? There's the literal tree of life, and different trees are called that. For instance, the argan tree is called the tree of life, right? In Morocco, in that area of North Africa. So, was it an actual tree? Yes. Was it a metaphysical tree? Yes. Was it a spiritual tree? Yes. Right? And we know that the Torah is called the tree of life, and we know that the 10 Sfirot are called the tree of life. So, it's yes to all of it. It was metaphorical, right? Allegorical, metaphysical, physical, spiritual. It is all of these things together. So my interpretation of the Tower of Babel, same deal. Because the Torah is not simply speaking of the plain, simple reality. Nor do I take the Torah as being a book of history. As far as I'm concerned, I've said this many times, all of Torah can be fairy tales, complete myth, all made up. The wisdom is still within it. So I don't take things necessarily literally, and I don't take things only allegorically. I don't take things only metaphorically, right? I take them on different levels. And again, I pick and choose everything. I'm a cherry picker. So when it's convenient for me, I'll choose to look at something literally. When it's inconvenient, I'll choose to look at something metaphorically. And I don't see this as a cop-out. I see this as simply me going with what I am drawn towards. And I'm very real about that. On the other hand, I don't shy away from contending with the difficult parts of the Torah and saying, oh, no, that's all allegory. It's like, no, there are difficult parts in the Torah. There's barbarism and war and bloodshed and maybe even misogyny and maybe even misandry in the Bible and in the Torah. Ocean says, thanks for your answer, good luck. Indeed, good luck to you. So Taylor, I haven't really addressed your question, but I did a little bit. Justin says, Metzitza b'peh, sucking with the mouth. Yes, that is being done less and less and less in the circumcisions that were carried out in our home here, right here. It was done with a small device, a small straw-like apparatus, because when doing it with the mouth, there is the danger of transferring diseases, herpes, I don't know what. So, yeah. Ocean said, I'll leave you with a thought how you can follow God through a book written by man for man. Because I am a man. I try to be. That's how. That's why. That's how you can follow God. Because it's the divine revelation as it was brought down to the children of Israel. You see what I'm saying? So when I say that it was divinely inspired, when I say that it was the divine revelation speaking to Moses, and then Moses writing it down by people for people, I mean exactly that. The Torah is written in the tongues of man. The Torah is written in a way that you still need to decipher it, and there's still, let's say, a code to it. And I don't mean the Torah codes of skipping verses and whatnot. I mean the fact that there are different layers and there's nuance, right? So, okay. Hey, Noah is here. Hey, Noah. The divine name is a communicable vehicle, like a king's signet ring. The angel of the Lord is the authorized bearer of the name, and he is sent on assignments in God's name. Yes, in God's name, bearing God's name, indeed. I agree. So, the divine name, right? Shakespeare might say, oh, what's in a name? A rose by any other name would still smell as sweet. But the divine names bespeak different revelations that are coming into existence, right? And that's why the Zohar, by the way, says that the entirety of the Torah is names of the Most High God. right? Just a continuous sequence of names, from the Bet of Bereshit to the Lamed of Yisrael, from the first letter to the final letter of the written Torah. It's all different names of God. Because the Torah acts as a revelation, right, of the divine in creation. That's also why it says that God looked at the Torah and created the world. Taylor says it was not Yod He Vav He wrestling with Jacob in Genesis. The entity that Jacob wrestled was represented Esau. Yes, that's correct. They say that it was the minister, right, the messenger of Esau, the spiritual equivalent, the counterpart, the spiritual counterpart of Esau, of the physical brother Esau. Communism or capitalism, says Alien VP. I don't know enough about either one, but I do know that it seems that communism fails every time, and it seems that capitalism, for all of its faults, manages to sustain a productive and overall functioning society without causing the death of millions and millions. Now, some people may say, no, Yonatan, you're ignorant. Communism may cause it through war, millions of people in one go, but capitalism causes it over the course of time. And still to that I say, maybe, but the idea of free markets works at scale. The idea of each according to their ability, to each according to their needs, only works up to, what, a few hundred people, and then it breaks down rapidly. And that's why for a society, I say capitalism. For a commune, or a family, or a household, sure, communism may work. Justin says, explain the Metzitza B'Peh you sick people do. Well, yeah, I think I just did, so cool. Shalom Aleichem, says Shimshon, Achi, long time no see. And indeed, no time long see. Shimshon, not Shimshon, Shimon. Lots of trolls here today, I see. Yes, today and every day, thank God. Justin, why do you choose to spread hate instead of love, says Lil Bod. You're a shame to the Christian community. Shimon says, Christians act like if Jews are still as bad as we were in the times of the judges and kings, when we fell time and time again. We have as a nation repented to varied levels. Maybe, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Lil Bod says, you surely have the brains to understand not all rights are still in practice, and this applies to all religions. Indeed, I mean, I don't know if you're talking to me or to, what's-his-face, to Justin, but yeah, look, people love to spread hate, people love to have their gotcha moment, even though it's no gotcha at all. So, let him have it. If he thinks that he got me, good for him. Very good for him. Vulcan up, Star Trek salute. Yeah, so Leonard Nimoy, right, this is what the Kohanim do, the priests, when they go up to bless the children of Israel, they do this with both hands. That is where he got it from. That is the Vulcan salute. Live long and prosper is what the Kohanim do. Indeed. Catman says, have you heard of the book of The Culture of Critique by Kevin MacDonald? No, I have not. It's an analysis of Jewish involvement in revolutionary movements as a group, evolutionary strategy. Well, there have been many Jews leading different revolutions and different paradigm shifts throughout the existence of societies at large. But to that, by the same token, there are also many Jews who are thinking up many innovations, right, in science and medicine and technology and industry. So it's like the Jewish brain, if you will, never stops. And sometimes it goes, in a way that is there to overthrow regimes or shift paradigms. And sometimes it's there to benefit humanity. I don't know what to tell you. What about a capitalist collective of communes like a worker co-op? Petlong says, hey Petlong, good to see you again. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't know enough about the economic systems, right, of capitalism and communism to say, what about a capitalist collective of communes? I don't know. I don't know how that would go. I really don't. Maybe it would work, maybe not. Metzitza B'Peh is still in practice. Yes, it is still in practice, but people are doing it less and less. Also, out of the 3 different stages of circumcision, right, which is the circumcision, the separation, and the sucking of the blood, the 2 first ones, right, are definitely part of circumcision. You can make the argument, and some do, that the sucking out of the blood was there just as a medical thing and not an integral, inherent part of the covenant of circumcision, and so it needs to be abolished. So the two first parts stay, and that third part goes. But even if we say that Metzitza B'Peh needs to stay, don't do it with your mouth, because there's a danger there. Don't do it with your mouth. Yes, of course I admitted it was. Hey, Never Under Pressure is here. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Cherry Garcia. Wow, that's a Ben and Jerry's. I haven't had it. I mean, I don't have it now. I stay away from dairy, so I wouldn't have it now. But I did have a chance to try Cherry Garcia a few times in my life, and I'm a Grateful Dead fan, and I loved the Jerry Garcia band as well. So yeah. Is this a teaching? No, this is a dialogue. I'm having a dialogue with you, good people. I am not a teacher. I am not a master. I am not a scholar. I am not a learned man. I am not an educated man. I am not a rabbi. I'm just a simple dumbass in the Middle East with a phone who likes discussing spirituality, faith, religion, self-development, and anything you throw at me, basically. If there were ever a Jew, says David Roubaix. Hey, David, good to see you. Sean Robinson is here. Hello to you. Joe Friday is here, indeed. Justin says, Jesus drove out the dirty moneylenders. Yes, and a good thing too. Because if they were doing things that were not cool in the Hebrew temple, it's a good thing he drove them out and overturned the tables. A Jew that doesn't know about economic systems, you're not Jewish at all, says David. Okay, yay, feel free to say that. Some people say I'm too Jewish. Some people say I'm not Jewish enough. Please stop shaming Jesus' name, says Little Bob. Blood sucking, says Cherry Garcia. Yes, sucking the blood from the wound of circumcision is the third and final part of circumcision traditionally, but there are those who say that it should not be practiced now. Great conversation today. Thank you. We'll be subscribing, says Jeremiah. Thanks. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Incidentally, almost been on an hour. A quick aside to say thank you to those watching now, those watching later, those in the chat, those in the comments, the likes and the subs and the views and the spammers, the trolls, the haters, the ones who tell me to kill myself, the ones who are actually here for conversation. I really do dig you, and I enjoy it, and I cherish it, and I don't take it for granted that I press go live. And I'm here in Jerusalem at 9:45 p.m. with a cup of tea in the middle of a war. It's no small thing that I get to sit here in the comfort of my own home, speaking with you, learning from you, learning alongside you. It's no small thing, and I deeply appreciate your time and your kind and gentle attention, your engagement, your encouragement. It's a wondrous and wonderful thing, indeed. Okay. Lil Bod says his love knows no limits, no matter the religion. Yes, love, right? Love transcends all, right? Love covers all wrongdoings, as it says in the book of Proverbs. Okay, let's continue. How long have you been growing the dreads? Lewis says they are what? Wait. How long have you been growing the dreads, man? Good God, they are lobg. I'm assuming he wanted to say long. I've been growing the dreads for about 15 years. Yeah, 15 years, pretty much. Sam Sal says children have died from herpes because of that practice. I agree. That's why doing it with your mouth is not a good thing. Do it with an apparatus, like I was doing, right? Like the moil that I hired for the circumcisions done in my home. That's what he did. Kiss Kid Nova. Hi, Kiss Kid Nova. How you doing? Richie says, are you living on stolen land and occupying the property of Palestinians? No, definitely not, because this land is the land of the Hebrews, so it's not stolen. I definitely encourage anybody who wants to live here in peace to come and live here in peace. As for occupying, I suppose, but it's either something that was bought or spoils of war that we did not start, or Palestinians who left voluntarily when they were told you'll be back in a few days after we kill the Jews. So however you want to spin it and look at it, I am not occupying any stolen land. It's land. Now, first, the land belongs to the Creator. It doesn't belong to me or to any of the Palestinian people. And I do this because while there were people living here for hundreds of years who weren't Jewish, no nation of Palestine has ever existed. Palestine is what Rome called this place. It has no origin whatsoever. The entire identity of Palestinians is an invention from the 1960s. And alongside that, I do say there were people here, not Jewish, who lived here for hundreds of years, and they have a claim to stay here as well as anybody. So let's be clear about that. Hey, JP is here. Hey, my Nazarite rabbi friend, I'm not a rabbi, nor am I none of that. I'm not a rabbi. I'm a simple dumbass in the Middle East, and do not forget that. Good to see you. What is it? I don't know. How did Noah find grace in the eyes of God out of everyone on earth? And how does someone find grace in the eyes of God, and what is grace? So let's put it this way. It says, V'noach matzah chen. The word used there is chen. And chen is not necessarily grace, it's more like favor. Okay? Well, it also says in the eyes, Noach matzah chen be'einei Adonai, right? In the eyes of God. Eyes are a certain divine revelation. Chen, or favor, bespeaks a certain divine revelation. So, before anything, I will say humility. Humility is the key to all positive attributes. Humility is the key to all good personality traits. If you go with humility in this world, all of the other traits, all of the other goodness that you can aspire to be flows through humility. That is top of the list, right? As for how Noah managed to do it, God says, "I have seen you righteous, right, and whole before me." So you can make the research yourself. Do your own research on what you would consider to be righteousness as such, and you will gain favor in the eyes of God. Now again, God has no eyes. God is not a physical, corporal being. Okay? So this is a divine revelation that Noah connected with. Right? Noach is also from the Noach is also from the root of nechama. Right? And nechama means solace. Okay? So there's this idea of Noach after 10 generations from Eden behaving in such a way that the divine revelation received solace, if you will, for all of what had gone on with the human species, right? With humankind. So I would say, it's good to see you. Noah found grace in the eyes of God, found favor by living a righteous life and walking before God. And if you want to do that, the key to that, be you a Jew or a Gentile, is humility. Start with humility. That's what I say. I hope that addresses the question properly, and if not, please forgive me. But that's what I would say. Humility is the key to all good things, including finding favor in the eyes of God and in the eyes of your fellow man. Okay, let's continue. KCJ says, do you think Israel cares about the negative effects of their actions on the world if it improves the life of all Jews through money? I think Israel does care about the negative effects, but there is only so much you could care about, right? Because your circle of concern, sometimes you have a wider radius of concern, and sometimes you have a more tight radius of concern. For instance, when there is a calamity or a catastrophe or a tragedy somewhere, on the face of the earth, you will always, a lot of the time, find an expedition, right? A group of people from Israel going out there, medical personnel, engineers, people who are going to help out, be it a typhoon or a tsunami or an earthquake or I don't know what. You will find many times a delegation of people from Israel who are going to lend a hand where they can. So you see that sometimes the radius of concern, of involvement, of alleviating negative effects of, well, in this case, nature, Israel has a hand in that. On the other hand, you're saying that there are negative effects of their actions. This is true to everyone all the time. Everything that we do might have a negative effect. We don't always see it manifest itself as such, but everything we do potentially has a positive or a negative effect. So then, again, it's what do we go for? What are we shooting for? As for improving the life of all Jews through money, I don't quite know what you mean by that, but I think Israel does care. It's just a question of care about what, when, under what circumstances, right? There are times when we care a lot. There are times when we care less. There are times when maybe we could not care less. I don't know it. I go on a case-by-case basis. And that question is too general for me to really properly address. So I don't know. Lil Bod says, "Do you know Netanyahu is alive, right?" I don't know anything. I'm assuming he's alive. Do you fall for all propaganda you see ahead of you, Justin? Oh, okay, so he was talking to Justin. Let's continue. Real Israel says, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob only revealed himself to his children, and the end is soon to be here, and we will establish the kingdom of heaven on this earth. It's the end of you. Who's the real Israel, and who is this you you're speaking of? Mockingbird says, you look like an evil, and evil you are. I do look evil, I'll give you that. Here. The classic evil Jew, right? Why aren't you serving the IDF now instead of being a coward? I served in the IDF for almost 20 years, and I was discharged a few months ago. When the war broke out after October 7th, I got in touch with my commanding officer. I told him, if you need me, call me. I will show up and volunteer, even though I've been discharged. As for why am I not serving? Because I wasn't called back. I wasn't called back. That's why I'm not serving. As for being a coward, I suppose that there are times when I act in a cowardly fashion. This is not one of these times. I was discharged. I served my country faithfully in mandatory service and in reserve duty for just about 20 years. Is that enough for you? Grog says, so many of the people in this chat have lost common sense and just repeat what they see online. Yes, that's true. That's true. It really, really is. And, there's nothing to do about that, really. Nothing can be done. People are going to do what they're going to do. Haters going to hate. Spammers going to spam. Parroters going to parrot. Now, I'm not taking myself out of this equation either, right? There are many things that I would say that other people have said. The thing is that I do make an attempt, a serious attempt, a real effort to think critically about what it is that's coming out of my mouth. And I usually won't say something if I can't back it up in some way. Okay, let's see. Real Israel says it's not really going to happen because you guys are not genetically, he came from Europe. That's why they've banned DNA testing in Israel. They have not banned DNA testing in Israel. That is a falsehood and a lie. The original Israelites and the whitewashing took place. Oh, God, this again. Okay, whatever you say, man. I'll go with that. Whatever you say. Oh, God. Okay.
I bet you do love trolls.
Eric Boggs is here. Yes, I do love the trolls, my son says. I do. They bring more engagement to the chat, and the algorithm likes the trolls, so why not? I also like the trolls as well. Richie says, yeah, classic pedophile. Really? 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 If you say so. I'm native Cherokee, Grog, says Justin. A Cherokee, okay, cool. Robert Mazibuko, how many people have you unalive? I've never had to kill anybody, thank God. Though as a medic, I did give aid to people, be they Jews or Arabs, Palestinians or Israelis, people from Sudan, people from Eritrea, Grog says that does not change my statement. Well, I don't know what... Okay. Richie says, so you were serving Israel as a genocidal maniac, committing a genocide, Holocaust, rape, and torture against indigenous Palestinians. Yeah, Palestine is what Rome called this place. Rome called this place of Judea, Syria, Palestina. So Palestinians are actually Roman colonizers, if you want to look at it that way. Jews come from the kingdom of Judah in Judea. That is here. That's why we are called Jews. As for rape, torture against indigenous Palestinians, no, but I have actually given medical aid to Palestinians. Am I still a rapist? As for committing a genocide, the only genocide that's going on is on the part of the terrorist organizations. Israel has not been genociding anybody. They have no such intent, and the numbers show the exact opposite because the people, right, the population of Gaza, the population of the West Bank has been growing. So if we are genociding them, it's the most awful and terrible, lazy genocide ever. Plus, there is no such intent. If we wanted to wipe out the entirety of Gaza and the West Bank, it would be only too easy, and it could be done in a few days with the right amount of munitions. So the facts are speaking against you, history is speaking against you, stats are speaking against you. What else do you have to say? You're just parroting propaganda, and you haven't actually looked at the numbers. If you looked at the numbers, you would say, oh wow, I'm a bit of a dumbass for thinking that it's a genocide. On the other hand, Hamas, Fatah, Al-Aqsa Brigade, Hezbollah are the actual genocidal maniacs who want to wipe us off the face of the earth simply because we are Jews living in Israel. Have you ever thought, says Gumbian, about reading the Bible and loving Jesus? I have read the Bible. Jesus is neither here nor there for me. You know, he was born and he died, and that's it. That's all that it is. Oh, the chat just jumped again. Sorry. I'm going to have to see that again. Where was I? Here. Lover, Tunt says, question, do you think the greater Israel is something that you are entitled to? No, we are not entitled to anything. Creation, the land, belongs to the Creator. If anything is given to us, it's only as stewards, caretakers, keepers, but it doesn't belong to us. Never has, never will be. Like that can be seen on a military badge. So Greater Israel is something that never actually manifested itself. First of all, because there are different opinions and borders that are associated with Greater Israel. Second of all, it has never actually been, right? There are parts that Israel took, there are parts that Israel gave back. Even modern day Israel never reached those borders of Greater Israel. But no, as far as I'm concerned, Israel right now can remain as such. Just, I hope we will be able to live in peace with our neighbors and with the, let's say, the Palestinians, if you will, living here among us. I mean, look, there are about 2 million Arab Israelis living here. So, it can be done. Sir, says Stephen Scuba, who do the Orthodox Jews believe Jesus was? I think most Orthodox Jews believe that Jesus was a Jew. That's it. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. Right? The churches and all of that came after he was dead. I don't think he himself proclaimed that he was the king or the son of God in the sense of that he is a physical son of a physical or metaphysical God. I do think that I can't speak for all of Orthodox Jewry. I know that there is a teaching that is an opinion in the Talmud that was not made into actual law of any kind, that Jesus is boiling in a pit of excrement. I don't subscribe to that opinion, but I know that some Orthodox Jews go with the Babylonian Talmud. Now, that is not made into law. That's not mandatory to think that way. That is the opinion of one sage or a few sages. That doesn't make it actual law. So, I can't speak for all of Orthodox Jews, unfortunately for you. Real Israel says, the truth is not up for debate. Well, good, because I'm not a debater. You're a human being speaking your opinion. Agreed, I am, no more, no less. But the Holy Spirit, the Torah, and its truth can never be contested. And we go by Torah, we are genetically Israel, Scripture. Okay, I'm not sure. Are you talking to me, Real Israel? Are you talking to someone else who you are conversing with in the chat? I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about, man. Now, as for genetics, I kind of have some, converts are converts. They are 100% Jewish from the moment they convert. So even if biologically or genetically they are not Jewish, the next generation, is, because they are Jews bringing progeny, right, bringing forth children, and a Jew is a Jew from the moment that they convert. Even if I converted this very morning, I am still 100% a Jew. When my face, when my body breaks the surface of the mikveh, of the pool, right, of the ritual pool, I am a Jew. Okay. 30 Clip says, what do you think about the claims and connections of how Jesus in the New Testament fulfills prophecy from the Old Testament? Do you believe it's made up or coincidence? I don't know if it's made up. I know that the writers of the New Testament took great pains and made a lot of effort to make it seem as if it's simply a continuation of the Hebrew Bible. But it isn't. It's not a continuation of the Hebrew Bible as I see it. People might disagree. By all means do. Push back against me, challenge me, whatever you want. So, what do I think about the claims and connections? I think there may very well be a connection. Does it mean that it's an entirely new religion? No. Does it mean that the Jews have broken their covenant and their covenant is completely broken on all sides? No. It simply means that there may have very well been a person from the tribe of Judah born in Bethlehem called Yeshu or Yeshua, who was a potential prophet, sage, king, Messiah, right? Anointed one, who was a great speaker and who had many followers and who then died. And whether or not he fulfilled prophecy, it's like, okay, and I've said this before, I'm fulfilling a prophecy right now, living here in Jerusalem, raising a family in Jerusalem, right? There is the prophecy of Zechariah, right? That the streets of Jerusalem will be filled with the elderly on their walking sticks and children playing in its streets. Yes, I'm living a prophecy, fulfilling a prophecy right now, even as we speak. But I'm not making any claims. Now, people told me, no, you chose the most simple prophecy and then said, just like Jesus fulfilled a prophecy and I'm fulfilling a prophecy, and I can't equate them. So, agreed. Maybe that's not the right thing to conflate. But I'm fulfilling a prophecy right now. If Jesus fulfilled different prophecies, all well and good, it still does not make him the final Messiah, because the final Messiah, there are different Messiahs from different tribes all throughout time. The final Messiah is supposed to bring about this great shift on a global scale. However, we know that shortly after Jesus' death, the Romans burned down the Second Temple and exiled the people of Israel, and so it doesn't quite add up in that sense. So, yeah. Robert Mazibuko says, who is your God? My God is the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the 12 tribes, the God who was revealed to us at Sinai as a people, as a nation.
Whoa. Okay.
James Bong says, can't wait to get all my affairs in order so I can finally make Aliyah. I'm 41, so I won't have to serve in the IDF. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have to serve in the IDF. I mean, maybe you have some sort of unique special skill, maybe then, but I doubt that even then. Richie says, your descendants are from Eastern Europe. Okay, so my ancestry harkens back to here, to Jerusalem, to Judea. And then we were exiled by Rome, right, to Europe. And then from Europe we journeyed to the States. And then from the States we journeyed back to Judea, right, to Jerusalem, to the kingdom of Judah. So I have no idea what you're talking about, other than the fact that for a time my family was in Europe. That is true. But before that, it was right here where I am. Traditionally. I'm not saying I can back this up with a family tree or with documentation. I'm saying that's the tradition of our family. Real Israel says DNA testing banned in Israel. No, it is not banned in Israel. This is so, I hate it when people spread all of this misinformation or disinformation, whatever you call it, falsities, right? It's not banned in Israel. Now, I think I've been told that it might be a kind of difficult thing to get through the red tape and the bureaucracy, but it's not outright banned. Now, if you mean it's banned, it's not. If you mean it's sort of heavily monitored or regulated, possibly, I don't know. I've never gone and had my DNA tested, so I have no idea. He continues, they are trying to hide the fact they are not Semitic to the land. Once again, even if we say that we are all converts, all the progeny of the kingdom of Khazaria, let's say, which has been debunked countless times, but let's say for the sake of argument that we are 100% Jewish nonetheless. A Jewish convert is a Jew. They do not match up to the story of the Torah, who these people are, but we fit every part. So again, this idea of Israelite supremacy, I don't know where you people get it from. I really, really don't. But go right ahead. Go right ahead and think it. No skin off my nose. You're fun to watch, says Eric Boggs. Thanks, you're fun to be with, Eric. IDF is a terrorist organization. False, Justin. Before the IDF was established, there were terrorist organizations, right? Etzel, Lehi, Haganah, Irgun, right, all that. But once the IDF was established, all of those terrorist organizations were made illegal. So the IDF is not a terrorist organization. There are soldiers in the IDF that could be considered terrorists. But the doctrine of the IDF, maybe at some points in time, did have an element of terror to it. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Definitely there were things that were not too kosher. And over time, the IDF has maintained and updated its doctrine to comply more with international law. But still, within an organization of any magnitude, you'll find people who are complete psychos, right? Like reprehensible people who do inhumane things and who commit atrocities and who do it in the name of the uniform that they are wearing. Does that mean that I condemn the entirety of the IDF? No. So if what you're saying is you're talking about individual soldiers, okay, some individual soldiers are terrorists because they are shitty people doing shitty things. The IDF as a whole is fighting a defensive war against enemies who have come here to slaughter us, annihilate us, make us extinct and no more, drive us into the sea, cut our throats, and any sovereign nation would fight that type of an offense. You can't tell me otherwise. Israel is the most prolific terrorist organization in the world alongside with the United States. Oh, Richie, if you say so. House of Judah, House of Israel separate. No, David Way. Hello, David. They were separate. They were separated after King Solomon, right? There's the Rechavam of Judah and Yerovam of Israel. That contention, right, between Judah and Israel, between Judah and Joseph, is one that has a long and bloody history, but it won't always be that way. Remember what Ezekiel said, that Judah and Ephraim will be one, right, with the pieces of wood becoming one. So even though for a time we were a separate kingdom, we will go back, God willing, to being a unified kingdom. Now, right now we have the kingdom of Judah, or the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, known as the Jews. That is comprised of Judah, Benjamin, and parts of Levi. But we do also have the 10 lost tribes, and some of them they say are not lost, and some have been found. Some are claiming ancestry. Some are claiming ancestry right through the kingdom of Israel. I don't know how it will go down, but hopefully in time we will know, right, everything in its right place, and every person in their right tribe, and the genealogy and the right, the ancestry will be made clear. And I don't know how it will happen, but hopefully it will. Okay, I'm going down in the chat. I'm skipping down right now. Grog says, what makes a nation? Please explain. Good question. Now, some people say that a nation simply has to do with ethnicity. I belong in this group because I was born in this place. What made Israel a nation, I can't speak as to what makes other nations nations. What made Israel a nation is contending with the adversarial elements that came up against it in Egypt and afterwards, right? Bondage in Egypt, being liberated during this month of Nisan, the war with Amalek, okay, and the revelation at Sinai, where there was a covenant between Adonai, the revelation of God, and the entirety of the people. This is what turned Israel into a nation, from a collection of tribes and families into a unified nation. How it happened across time with other nations, I don't know. Maybe through religious affiliation and faith. Maybe through geographical location, place of birth. Right? I don't know how it goes down. But you tell me, people, including Grog, what is it that makes a nation a nation? Is it just geographical location? Is it a shared heritage and history, regardless of where you are? Right? Asgard is not a place, it's a people. That sort of thing? Is it only faith, religion? What is it? Don Ria says, Metzitza b'peh, rabbis sucking baby dicks. Yes, I've already gone through this, so that's okay. Okay, let's continue. Bro, you're full of shit. Definitely I'm full of shit, but sometimes I go to the toilet and I vacate it. They brainwashed you. You're in the tribe of Warsaw. Go back there where your ancestors are from. Yes, and you know what they told us back in Warsaw? Go back to Israel where you belong. So I'm afraid that you're the one who's full of shit. In fact, we all are full of shit at different points in time. As for the tribe of Warsaw, no, Jack Crispy, I am a Hebrew man. I am part of the Hebrew tribes, and I will not listen to some rando on the internet and go, oh, of course, I need to go back to Europe, because my family has been there, and it was not a good time towards the end, let's put it that way. Why do you call non-Jews goys? A goy means nation. Israel is also a goy, Phoenix TY. So, goys simply mean nations. In other words, nations that are not us. Now, some people use it in a derogatory and negative way, but that's not what it is originally. Israel is called a goy, and the other nations are called goyim, which is plural of goy. But goy essentially just means nation. That's what it is. You are not Jewish, you're some half-breed of Mongols, says Don Ria. Oh, I'm so glad you were here to finally explain my heritage and ancestry. How could I have been so mistaken all this time? Okay. As for not being Jewish, no, okay, I'm not Jewish then, I'm a Hebrew. There you go, Don Ria. I completely agree with you. I'm not Jewish, I'm a Hebrew man. Steven says, LOL, some Jews have the best sense of humor. Hey, you know what? Because you gotta laugh or you gotta cry. And I'm more about the laughter. More about the laughter. Phoenix says, what the fuck did he just say about babies? Yeah, there is that practice. But again, I've been through it even in this very chat earlier. So I'm not going to go through it again. Lil Bod says, hey, Luke Miller is here. Hi there. That's not what he said. I was just acknowledging Luke. I'm not a religious person, says Lil Bod. Nor am I. We have that in common. But wish to learn more about the Hebrew faith. Where do you recommend I start my search? I have no idea. I have no idea. Read the Torah. Read the Torah. That's what I say. Is someone in your house playing video games? Yes, they are. My kids were playing video games and they just turned it off. Sick Nick 100. Yes, they were playing on the PS5, or was it the Switch? What were you playing?
PS5.
Fortnite?
Four.
Okay. PS4, sorry.
I wish we had a PS5.
Yeah, no, we have no PS5. Maybe in time, I don't know. Start at the Torah, yes, exactly. Start at the Torah. Hey, Thought Criminal is here. What up, Nazarite? Good to see you, man. And you, good to see you too. Luke Miller says your dread's looking extra healthy today. Thanks, I appreciate it. Good thing you have a sense of humor. Trolls are out in full force today. Hey, man, let them come. Let them come. I too am a troll. Right? I too am brainwashed. I too am a spammer and a hater and a lover and whatever it is you want me to be, I'll be. Okay, let's continue. America First says, are you friends with Mossad? Mossad is an organization. It's not somebody who you're friends with. What do you think of Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi? I don't know who Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi is, so I have nothing to think of him. As for the Mossad, it's an intelligence organization, and they operate outside of Israel. Inside of Israel, we have Shabak. Inside of Israel, or Shin Bet, right? Inside of Israel, we have police. Mossad is specifically for intelligence gathering, espionage, and counterintelligence abroad, not here. People make that mistake all the time. I friggin' love playing video games, says Sick Nick. Now, you know what? I'm not a fan. Occasionally I'll play.
Rocket League yesterday.
Yes, but I'm not a fan of playing video games. It's not something I do on a daily basis. The last time that I played a video game for a long period of time was in my mid-20s, I think.
Want to play something?
Yeah. But it was very good at the time. I'm not against it. I just don't, I'm not... what I don't want is for people to play video games and sort of abdicate responsibility, right? And just completely let themselves go physically and spiritually and mentally, because that's no good. That's where it breaks down. But as a form of escapism, video games can be really great. Really, really great. Stephen says, what is your opinion on the resurrection of Jesus and the claim of the apostles? Do you think they made it up? And if so, what would be the reason? No, I'm of the opinion that he could have very well ascended, resurrected and ascended, right? All of that already has its roots in the Hebrew Bible. People who lived in the Bible. People who died? In the Bible. People who were resurrected? In the Bible. People who ascended, like Elijah? In the Hebrew Bible. People who were kings, people who were prophets, people who were priests, all of that has its root in the Bible. What doesn't have a root in the Hebrew Bible is man is God, God is man. That has no root in the Hebrew Bible, no frame of reference, nothing, nada, zilch, bubkis. So, the reason behind all of it, I don't know. But I do believe that he could have very well lived, he could have very well died, he could have very well been resurrected and ascended. All of that I have no problem with. Where it breaks down for me is when they say, oh, also he is the actual literal God incarnate. That's where I go, the Torah says no. You can believe that, not me. I'm a Hebrew man trying to follow the Hebrew Torah, and there's a strict prohibition against that sort of thing. That doesn't mean that that God is incapable of doing such a thing, far be it from me to say such a thing. But it does mean that in our tradition, in our way, in our Torah, no God incarnate has been revealed to the Hebrew people. So that's what I have to say about that. All of it has a basis in the Hebrew Bible, other than the fact that Jesus is God. And that's where I differ with Christians and followers of Yeshua. Yeshua is the way, says my dear friend, so happy to see you live. Thank you, it's good to be here.
When we're done with this, can I play a game?
He has the Holy Spirit, it doesn't mean he is God, bud, says Phoenix. What do you mean? There are many people who do believe that Jesus is indeed the incarnation of God in a human being, that he is the literal Son of God. So I don't know what you mean, Phoenix. America First says like and subscribe. Appreciate it. We want this channel to grow. He deserves it. He answers questions, doesn't ban people. I don't answer questions. I address them. Because, what's to answer? But, yeah, I do try and address every question that comes my way, if I can. And if I don't, I say, I'm ignorant, I don't know. Or maybe phrase it differently so I'll understand it. Nazarite says, Thought Criminal, what are the chances that America is the biblical Edom? The chances, not America per se, but Edom is very much likened to the remnants of the Roman Empire. And so if we have people saying that Europe and America are the remnants of the Roman Empire, then there's a connection there traditionally with Edom, with Esau. But that does not necessarily need to be the case. I know that there is, in the Midrash and in the Talmud, there is the idea of Esau is Edom, according to the book of Genesis. Edom is Romi, or Rome. Rome, was later broken up into the Byzantines and the Romans, and later it was sacked, Constantinople was sacked and all that, and it broke up. And then it became, Europe, and later on the New World, people from Europe arriving in America. So, in that sense, there is a kind of link between the US and Edom, but by that same token, there's a link between Europe and Edom. So saying that the US is Edom and not also lumping in Europe may be doing it a kind of disservice. And that's even sort of taking into account that that might not be the case at all. All right.
False is Batman.
Let's see. Let's keep going down in the chat. Ooh, my battery is about to die. And I've been on for almost an hour and a half. I'm going to go soon either way. Either way, I'm going to go soon. Okay. Grog says, one of the best channels for conversation. Hey, that's what this is for. I love dialogue, and I love also bringing it down into creation and not just leaving it in the ether of discussion and intellect. Scientists say Christopher Columbus was a Jew. Yeah, that's what I've been told. Do you believe? I don't know what I believe about Columbus. It was hundreds of years ago. Who's to say? Maybe, maybe not. What do you call a bee that makes milk instead of honey? A booby. Ah, very nice, James Bong. Very good indeed. What do you call a bee that makes milk and not honey? A booby. Yeah, my wife likes that one. Okay, on that note, booby, I'm going to say thank you, each and every one of you, those watching now, those watching later. It's so much fun to engage with you, to discuss with you, to converse with you. It's a real pleasure And I don't take it for granted that I'm able to sit here, especially in these crazy times, with a cup of tea and have a wonderful conversation with you good people. I hope once again to see you on the next live stream. Hit me up in the DMs if you want to continue a conversation one-on-one. Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, or here, leave a comment. I don't get to every single thing in the chat because it goes sometimes very fast and I don't get to everything, but I do make a sincere attempt to address every single comment that is left on any of my videos that I'm notified of. So by all means, leave a comment on this video when I'm done or a different video, and let's keep the conversation going. Be good, people. Be, be blessed. Be a blessing. Be the light in other people's lives. Be the reason why somebody points at you and says, there is some good in the world after all. May we know better times, times of peace, times of prosperity, justice and truth and love. Until then, God willing, I will see you in the next live stream where the wonders never cease. Until then, goodbye and good night from Jerusalem. Again, thank you, thank you. This has been such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. L'chaim.